Welcome back to another episode. You already know what the fuck it is. It's your girl, Lana, okay? On the Real Authentic Woman podcast. Don't know why I decided to open up this episode like I was a host on a radio station, but here we are. You guys, I'm like 6 episodes away from my 30th episode, which is so crazy. You know, most people stop after 10. We are still kicking it, okay? I'm not gonna lie, this journey so far has been really challenging to keep up with and to pump out content. I think the content has been the hardest part, right? Because I can sit here and create podcasts all day. Like, that's what I love doing. But the creating content around my brand has just been fucking super challenging. Especially, trying to keep up with all the other shit going on in my life. But at the same time, it is always something to look forward to. Like the moments that I get to sit down and record an episode, it's just my favorite because it's just me, you, and the mic. And the editing sucks. It's terrible. For me, it's kind of similar to the same thing that I do with digital storytelling. I love to sit across from somebody and just hear their story. I love interviewing people, and I need to bring somebody back on this podcast. I know we are due for one, and it's in the works, and I promise that's going to happen soon. But I really do just appreciate that one-on-one interaction and being able to hold space for somebody else to just speak and, hear their story, find out who they are. Anyways, I'm definitely venturing off onto a very long tangent that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but I mean, that's how most of my episodes start off, so just get used to it, I guess. I don't know. And I guess you could say that I might be avoiding this conversation because I've been having to confront some feelings of mine that are extremely uncomfortable and not really easy to accept, but we're trying, babe. We are trying. So I know you're all dying to know what we're talking about today. Well, today I want to talk about adjusting to life's changes as it relates to friendship dynamics. This has been something that has proven to be very hard for me to comprehend. And the older I get, the more I'm starting to realize that lessons, growth, change, and adjusting are all phases that are never going to stop coming. They're never going to stop happening. But I find myself wanting to hold on to certain seasons just a little bit longer. And unfortunately, that's not the way life works. And before I get too emotional, let's just jump right in, shall we? So here's the thing. I believe that friendships are one of the most sacred things in this life. And when you find a pair of friends, or even just one person who can understand you in a way that no one else can, that's a feeling that I hope everyone gets to experience one day. I've been lucky enough to have quite a few deep friendships in my life, and some have lasted, the test of life changes and circumstances, but, others have faded or grown distant due to life, right? And this makes me really sad because a lot of times when distance happens, between your friends, it's normally, most of the time, due to things that are outside of your control. People move, people grow more serious with their partners, people adjust their lifestyles, and when changes happen in our friends' lives, it can also really affect our own lives. I'll give you an example of this. A little over a year ago, a really good friend of mine moved away due to their partner pursuing a new job opportunity. And you can't help but be happy for them and support them on this new journey. But at the same time, you don't know what kind of change that's going to bring in the friendship. You're going from living down the street from me to now living 10 plus hours away from me. I can't call you to hang out on any given day during the week. It's now become something where we have to sit down and make plans for the next time that we're both available and take off work to be able to see each other. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot more effort that has to go into the friendship once this physical distance is created. And because you don't have the luxury of living so close to one another anymore, that change in dynamic, especially once you reach your mid-20s to early 30s, because there is something about that bond that you build with these friends during this time in your life. I don't know if it's just the age, but at this time in our lives, we are finally at a point where we have grown enough to be more authentically ourselves, and thus attracting people who are also more authentically themselves. But you're also at an age where you are just more grown. You're more of an adult. And you are now surrounding yourself with people who do more adult things. And sure, you might go out and get fucked up every once in a while and have a story to tell about it. But hey, a hike in the woods, that's also fun. A random yoga class on a Tuesday night, absolutely. You see what I'm saying? I think the reason why this is so hard to accept is because you see the changes that are happening in your friend's life and you start to realize how it is also affecting yours at the same time. And no one talks about that enough, right? Like the things that disrupt or change in the life of a close friend can feel very adjacent. It might not feel the same or look the same, but you still feel affected by it. Now, the next thing I want to bring up when it comes to adjusting to the changes in dynamic in friendships is when your friends or friend finally meets their person, or that significant other. Whew. Okay, this is an adjustment, I've had to come across many, many times. And this one is really hard, you guys, especially if you're the single friend. And luckily for you, I've always been the fucking single friend. You know what I mean? Always been the single friend on the side. When things happen, I'm the first that they come to, whatever. Okay? I'm the single friend and it sucks. It sucks being the single friend. And here's the thing. I think for me, especially in the past, and I'm getting better at it now, but I always like to have just one person that I could kind of latch onto in my life. And I know that sounds terrible as I'm saying it out loud, but obviously I have had to work through some codependency issues. And, we're doing better. So now I can speak on these experiences. Moving on. I think at first, when your friend starts dating someone new, you are genuinely really excited for them because it's a new connection. You obviously want what's best for your friend because they deserve the best, obviously. But I think a part of us is always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop when it comes to our friends. Like, oh my gosh, when are they going to tell me that so-and-so is being an asshole? You know what I mean? But what happens when this person is actually the best for them? like when they actually are a good person and good partner for your friend. That's hard. That's an adjustment. And you see how happy they are with this person. And you're like, oh, wait a minute, I actually like this person for my friend. And you're grateful for that. But now there's kind of this shift in dynamic, right? You're not the first person they call anymore. You're not the first person they ask to hang out with. You're not the first person they tell when something new happens or exciting happens or bad happens anymore. And that can be a really hard pill to swallow. They've found their person. And as a friend, it's really hard because you want nothing more, like I said, to be happy for them. But when you go from hanging out with this person almost every day or every week to now only seeing them every couple of weeks, that stings a little bit, like that's an adjustment. And I always found it really hard to navigate those conversations with my friends because I never want to come off as possessive, like, hey, what the fuck? Why aren't you spending any time with me anymore? That feels wrong. But at the same time, I miss you, and it's conflicting because I am happy for you and I want you to be happy. But like, damn, at the same time, don't forget about me, And the friendship shifts from not doing things as spontaneously anymore. It's let's make a plan, or do you mind if so-and-so comes with? And that kind of sucks. And the hardest part in all of this is just finally accepting that this is the new normal. This change is happening in their life and you have to allow it to just be. It's understanding that this doesn't mean the end. It just means their life is moving down a different path. And it's okay to let go a little bit and allow them to make room for this new connection. Because as they make room for this new connection, that just means that you now have more room and more capacity for a new connection of your own or a new hobby of your own. You see what I'm saying? So it's okay that it feels like your life is changing in all of this too, because that just means that your path is moving differently now too. And another thing I want to say is that it's also okay to grieve some of that friendship a little bit too, because, and maybe I'm speaking too deeply on this, but that's just how I've come to understand it, is that I've had to make an adjustment in how I think about my friendships and the people that are close to me, because we're all on our own separate path. None of us know what the fuck we're doing here. You know what I mean? And when we finally do encounter somebody or something that brings us a lot of joy, or, that we feel like we can really share something with, it's important that we allow those connections to be what they need to be, if that makes sense. Like, it's not fair for me as a friend to hold my friend back from a connection that is actually really good for them. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I need to allow that connection to breathe in their life, because that's what I would want for them. That's what you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm going on a tangent. I'm going to stop. I'm going to reel it in. The point that I'm trying to make is that change is going to happen, whether it be through physical distance or something else that occurs or happens in your friend's life. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to grieve a little bit, because it is change. It is change that's happening. But it's okay to hold it for a minute and recognize that things aren't going to be the same, and to really hold that and grieve that for a second, because they're still your friend. You know what I mean? Hopefully, if you have a deep connection with them. The last point is more of just a reflection of why I think adjusting to changes in friendship dynamics are so hard. when you meet the friends who remind you of who you are, there is no greater feeling of love. You know, to be fully accepted as you are for all your weird quirks, bad decisions, sloppy dating stories, you know, your painful past, just all of you. And when you are around people who bring you back to yourself, you just want to be around those people all the time. They're safe. They're able to hold space for you when the rest of the world feels so fucking scary. And you want to always hold on to that feeling. So it can be extremely painful when those adjustments happen, because it feels like you're almost losing a part of yourself in the process. Something that I've had to remind myself is that even though I can't hold their presence as much as I used to anymore, I am so grateful that they were able to help remind me of who I am. And I can take that with me wherever I go next. I think another thing that's really helped me feel more okay about making these adjustments is that just kind of remembering how every Friends sitcom ends, you know? They all eventually pick their own paths and quote unquote start their lives. But the memories are always sacred, and no one will be able to take those away from you, you know? Every Friends sitcom ends with them in the spaces where they grew together and they reminisce and they're like, holy shit, we're all moving out, or we're all doing our own thing. Like, this is crazy. You know what I mean? And that's what it feels like. You get to a point in your age when you start to realize, wow, everybody's life is changing around me, which I know means mine is going to too, but like, holy shit, what is going on, you know? A year ago, life did not look like this. And as I've been going through this, I actually came across a lyric on J. Cole's new album that I really fuck with, okay? And it reads this: life is a movie you can't rewind. First of all, that's a fucking bar, okay? Second off, it's just facts. Like, fuck. I know making those adjustments are hard. And it's just one of the many things, unfortunately, that we have to navigate in this life. But I encourage all of you to try to just trust that these changes are both for your highest good. Grieve it, hold it, and let it go. Just a little bit. Your friends aren't going anywhere, and you don't need the comfort of their presence to continue to be yourself. You don't need their permission anymore. Be grateful that you found people who remind you of you, and never forget what that feels like, because you can do it everywhere. You can be yourself everywhere. Even though it feels scary, believe me, I know. But with that, you guys, I think I'm going to leave it there. Just a few quick reminders, though, before we head out. Adjusting to changes in friendships are hard, but eventually you'll grow to understand it. Just let yourself hold those emotions, and don't be afraid to just also pick up the phone and call them. If the bond was deep, it will always be deep. Okay? So stay present. And this has been a fun episode. My mind is everywhere. Fucking, I feel like I have ADHD. I'm not self-diagnosing. I'm just saying how I feel. Okay? And I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I will see you guys next week. Peace. I don't like how I said that. Peace. Peace. What up, peace? Okay, I'm literally, okay. I need to stop. We're done recording, and I will see you guys later. Bye.